Hello again, we're back, the three of us this time for our halftime show. I mean, that first game went about as much as we expect. I mean, it was the two of you just a moment ago, no?
But you said we're back.
You definitely whispered to us in the middle of the game.
Yeah, you definitely did.
I did once, because, you know, sometimes there's like a moment where you ask something, and I'm like, I have the answer. I can help
I don't remember what the question was, but you definitely...
There's definitely three of us.
All right, fair enough. There's always three of us. I'm always watching.
We're the Holy
chat.
Trinity.
Remember that. Yeah, true. That's us. Anyways, we're here for the halftime show. So we're going to play a game I made up very recently. I'm going to call it Lore Dive. So the players in the NACL, specifically these two teams, I'm going to ask you some history questions about them. And we're going to see if you can get it right. So first, Magical, we're going to start with you once again.
Okay. Is it because I won last time?
Sure, we'll say it's because you won last time, not because you're like in proximity. All right, Philip, the top laner for FlyC. What's the first team he played on?
I don't know what the first team he played on. I remember the first team I saw him play on.
The first, I'm gonna just go with XT Esports.
No. Josh, you have a chance to get this one.
Okay. I don't think this is the first team he ever played on, but the first team I remember him playing on was Radiance.
No. It's actually a team called, wrote it down, F3 Visuals.
Oh, I would have.
Yeah, I was literally never going to get that. I don't know.
Josh,
I warned you.
I'm going to get that. Like,
okay.
Ever.
You know what? It gets easier from here, I promise.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Okay.
I lied. It gets easier after this question.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. So this next question is actually about the coach for FlyC, Soul Strikes.
Okay.
So he used to be a player. Actually, he's played for a very long time. Do you remember? Do you know what role he used to play most recently?
Most recently. Wait, is it my turn to go first, or is
No,
it
it's Josh's turn. I should have specified that.
I think he's a mid laner.
I'm gonna go with jungle.
Oh, Magical's right. Actually, he was a jungler.
Man, I can't believe I didn't ask him that yesterday.
Well,
hey, what role did you used to play? I might need it for a game show tomorrow.
You never know.
Honest, I initially thought it was mid, and then Josh said mid, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go jungle.
Josh is just being that good guy out here.
There's been a lot of Oceanic players coming and being our coaches, and also a lot of them were junglers. I mean, Juice is doing the exact same thing for CLG, you know?
Yeah. All right, Josh, since, honestly, I'm going to be straight with you. I'm going to give you some pity. I'm going to let you attempt this one first. Our third question is, Lunacia is a player we don't know too much about, but he actually recently played on a team we all knew very well. What team was it?
Did?
He did.
Oh, damn.
It was a sub, to be fair.
It was a sub. Oh, right. I remember looking at this earlier. It was one of the semi-pro teams.
Yes.
Who were they playing behind? Oh, my God. Were they playing behind... It was 100 Thieves next, wasn't it? Because I remember he popped up. Like, he was also playing Collegiate for a while. Wasn't he?
No. I don't
know. I don't think that's Lunacia, no.
Damn. All right, maybe I just looked out on that one.
You know what? Well, some people say luck is part of skill, so we take those. A point's a point. So now you guys are tied up. This is going to be really awkward if you tie at the end, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay.
All right. Brandini is used to be a player. He's been playing since 2014, actually, which was crazy when I looked that up. Do you remember the team he most recently played on? Both of you should know this.
Brandini?
Brandini.
Oh, God. Is it TSM?
He did play. I'm pretty sure he did play for TSM.
He played for TSM and for Echo Fox, and there's another team, and I can't remember.
That's too old, though, Magic.
No,
I know.
They played in the semi-pro a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they've been coaching. I remember them started coaching.
No, quiet.
I can't.
You can't, Magical.
I guess
Josh's
already.
chance.
I know.
He was on one of the really good teams.
He
was 2 years ago.
I know who it is now.
I mean, no. Why?
No, I'm gonna let Josh.
It wasn't not Academy team. It wasn't Zeus. It wasn't Solifide. Was it? Was it Wildcard?
Yes.
It
Let's
was.
go.
It was wild card.
I realized it was wild card afterwards because I thought you were talking about like LCS teams, so I was like, okay, what LCS teams he played? And that's why I'm like, I know Echo Fox and TSM. And then when you said semi-pro and you're like, oh, that's closer. I'm like, oh, it's wild card. I know this one.
Yeah, but at least now,
it's just you just got to remember the good teams.
Exactly. Which I mean, apparently that's been working out for you so far. All right, I have another question. This time, Magical. I'm gonna ask you.
Okay.
This is about Blaze in the mid lane.
Okay.
I'm gonna make this one a little easier for you too. He won a Proving Grounds qualifier last year. Which one was it, and what team did he play for?
Say the question again.
Freeze. Blaze won a Proving Grounds qualifiers.
Okay.
When?
Qualifiers.
And with which team?
With which team?
Hmm?
Was
I have
it
no idea.
Team Pending?
No. Team Pending was the core of the UST boys.
Yeah.
And that was in summer, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't.
Josh?
I don't even remember what teams he was on before he joined the Challengers League. I'm gonna guess EGP in spring.
No.
I don't know if
interesting guess.
I don't even know if he was on that team or if they've ever won a PGC.
Yeah, I know the answer
EGP
now.
also never won a PGC.
I know the answer now because
All right,
I'm
no
cheating with my
points,
second
no
screen.
points. But Magical, what's the answer?
That's no team.
There you go. Wait, well, also when?
Let's see. Spring, the second one.
There you go.
Yep.
Good stuff. So
There's
now
a lot of players to track. Turns out
there are, and I
that's
mean,
why we normally write this stuff down.
yeah, and I mean it helps, especially for me because I was looking these up, and I was also watching these players pretty closely last year. My time in semi-pro.
True. That is true.
Yeah.
You got a lot on us on that.
I do, and maybe this was my opportunity to flex that a little bit, you know?
All right, do you have another question?
I
Not
do.
Make one up. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly making them up at this point.
Good.
All right. Which
He's
players?
thinking about.
No, I'm thinking of how to word it.
Okay,
Which
okay.
players from FlyQuest Challengers have been interviewed so far? Give me one.
Been interviewed? Oh, wait, okay, I know.
I know. One.
It is your turn, Josh. So.
Oh.
Okay. All four of them were everybody but Masu was in an interview together earlier this week.
Yeah, you're right.
They did the quad interview.
They did the quad interview. Kangas did that one. I'm not even gonna lie, I forgot about that. All right, Magical.
Get wrecked.
I'm gonna throw you a bone here. Actually, well, I'm gonna give you a chance here. Instinct. Give me any team he previously played on. Literally anything.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes, that's true.
That's the easiest thing I've ever heard.
I mean, it's a pity point. He's not going to win anyway. We have to close. We have to stop the game. So there it is, Josh. It's 1-1. You guys have tied the game.
Oh, okay,
no.
engaged,
I mean, like,
engaged.
you won a game show. He's won a game show. So you
All
guys
right,
have
all
an
right.
opportunity to end the tie in our third halftime show, which I did warn you guys will involve a lot of math. So get your calculators ready. Don't actually do
need
that.
it.
That's cheating.
Okay.
Oh, you're one of those math teachers, I see. Oh,
That's right. Because you'll never have a calculator in the real world.
Yeah,
man.
you
definitely
have
won't
one in
just
your
have one in
pocket
our-
at all times.
Nope.
Right?
Who could have ever guessed that? Our teachers were right all along. But you know who else is right? Our production, Alex. Because they're telling us that draft is ready at the moment here. So I'm going to let you guys take this away for our last game of the series.
All right, let's get into this one. The last game of any Civil War. Fly fam, FlyQuest Challengers. Fly fam, they tried. They looked for these plays. They attempted to be proactive. I got to give a lot of respect to this team, especially because bringing in Maniac, this is their first week to really get to play with him. And going up against now their sister team in Challengers, it is a rough game to be put into, right? This is a rough schedule that they've had. Because yesterday, let's see, I forget who they played against. They played against Dignitas Challengers. So that's also a very difficult team. You're essentially thrown to the wolves your first week here if you're Maniac. And now, got to see how they can bounce back into this game. If they can, at least have similar showings. Similar glimmers of hope in Game 2.
And the big thing, I think, again, will be whether or not they can give the top side a decent matchup, but also they need to make sure that Instinct and Sword don't crumble, because Masu and Keetong have been blowing up so many of the other lanes so far. It's only going to get better. Masu's not playing on 100 ping. He's just playing in his normal solo queue ping because they're playing from Chicago. And FlyFam, they're going to be going with a very similar draft right off the bat. They're going to be picking up the Nami, and I'm expecting a very similar handshake, which means that we can avoid talking about the draft for a while, Alex.
Yeah, nothing's changed. So, I don't... Oh! Okay, oh no, it's not. Never mind. Yeah, it's the same. I'm expecting Zeri. So yeah, okay. Josh, you know what? I'm just gonna let you talk about whatever you want.
Yeah.
What do you want?
I kind of want
to... It could be about the weather if you want, I don't care.
I kind of want to mostly look at what we do know about Maniac as like this very new player, right? Because the thing that we do know is that they played on the wildcard organization for most of 2021 and 2022, playing between wildcard, developmental, and sometimes substituting for the, just regular wildcard gaming. It was also run by Myra at the time. And it was a situation where they weren't almost ever like the main line player for, some of these premier semi-pro teams throughout their history. They've mostly just kind of been in the background, playing behind a number of different teams, playing behind everybody who was on the wildcard gaming squad last year. And now, as they're looking for their opportunity to come back into it, they really actually have some of the least experience that we've been seeing. And so it's actually really impressive to me when we do see players with basically no experience come onto the field and not play really far back, not play as though they are a liability, but saying, hey, this is my chance to prove myself, this is my chance to try and carry. And while Maniac is doing not everything correct, they are trying to make things happen, and by doing that, they're going to learn faster than a lot of substitutes who just come in and try and do their job.
And that's the point of provisional teams, is to make sure you're learning fast, especially against a team that we have a lot of, even if it's young talent, it's talent that we've seen perform very well. Philip, Yuji, Spyrex, even just recently Masu, Keetong have done a great job of slotting into this team to take over the spot that Tomo Diamond had left for.
Yeah, I mean, Masu in particular has been looking quite good, and Keetong is definitely a player that, changes the way that this team was originally supposed to work out, but is something that can continue to grow. And this time the answer into the Jace is not going to be the Wukong and the Akali that we saw last time, but instead they're going to be taking the Camille, which does have some decent matchups, but also is very vulnerable to the Gnar in particular, right? You really struggle in the laning phase, and it is something where if Lunacia can also win that matchup, if Philip chooses to go that direction again, that would give a lot more opportunities to the FlyFam.
We're also not seeing Blaze onto one of those melees like you had before, expecting Spyrex to possibly flex Jace in mid lane again, which would be very difficult, as we had saw before. Blaze really didn't get to play much of that game. He was constantly poked out, constantly having to farm underneath his wave the best he could. So I do like that they're trying to change things. Ooh. But here, with that Camille, as you talked about being drafted for Lunacia, Philip could go back to the Gnar like he had before. Nothing changed on the entire team. But they are going to lay down a gauntlet here with Fiora for Philip.
I mean, this is one of those things where I believe it was Coach Ido, who was with Evil Jesus at the time, said that if Fiora is your only counter, that makes you a really good champion. And that was true about Camille for a lot of 2022 and 2021. But Fiora since then has become very, very good. And is still a really good counter. So this is definitely a spot where we said that Philip should come online around like level 7 to level 9 is when it starts to get easier. And then Lunacia just totally took control. This is one where Philip can start taking control as early as level 1 in this lane. And so we'll see if Lunacia can still get the upper hand. Whereas the rest of the map, it's the same thing that we're seeing in the bottom lane. We should be expecting Masu and Keetong to have an advantage in this lane when they're normally not supposed to.
And, I mean, with everything essentially being the same, I'm expecting Yuji to play more AP Maokai like he had before. Sure, the Demonic Embrace kind of leans into that, but after that, he still went, what was it, Leandry's afterwards? So he was going for the AP carry Maokai. FlyFam, it's looking rough for them. The bot lane's the same. I'd like to see Maniac make an early play in this bot lane, similar to how Yuji looked for that previously. But it ended up being pretty much moot because Masu and Keetong were strong enough to 2v2 the bot lane already.
Yeah. And so we are going to be seeing whether or not Masu and Keetong can continue with that streak of dominance. As you've been calling out a bunch of times, like, the lane starts off pretty decent for the Zeri Lulu. It really is about level 3 where you can start seeing the Lucian Nami take a little bit more control, but Oh, okay. Okay, Philip.
Okay. Lunasia and Philip were having a moment. I thought for a sec Maniac was going to actually look for a fight. And then he's like, I think Lunasia was like, look, bro, come on.
we're not killing him, right?
Like, we weren't even auto-attacking each other. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that you can really do to keep Philip in the fight, especially since Lunasia doesn't have flash. It's really hard to keep up, and even if you get the stuns, like, it's probably going to be a teleport trade. But here we see the control already being taken by Philip a little bit, just being able to get more damage down and take control. And the same thing happens in the bottom side as the Fly Challengers already have a little bit more control over the lane, just as you should expect them to.
Level 1 Zeri Lulu. Pretty powerful. Ooh. But I do like that Instinct and Sword are still not just giving up. They're not rolling over. They got a good amount of trade back onto Masu that time around. It's not as dire as previously, but the level 2 power spike, once Masu Kitong get that, Instinct and Sword have to play so passively and wait for anything. They can't just try to dive in like they did level 3 and then get immediately eviscerated by Masu.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have to track where the junglers are going. It's not going to be a yin-yang this time. They are going to be staying on the same side of the map. They will find each other on the bottom half. And that is a potential 3v3 that could go in favor of Maniac and the rest of the fam. Just because they're a little bit of a faster clearer, they should get there first.
This is kind of what I wanted to see, too, from Maniac. I was just calling for it. Play more around the bot lane. Try to help out Instinct and Sword, see what you can gain for the team. But because Masu and Kitong were the level 2 experienced leaders, they put a pretty deep ward inside the jungle of Maniac. They'll spot Maniac well in advance so they can play as aggressively as they want to. And even Yuji feels like he is perfectly fine just running into the jungle. He notices red buff has been already taken, and he spotted Maniac going onto the chickens.
Yeah, and Spyrex is already moving over as well. Maniac in a tough spot. Oh, what's the flash?
Early flash. I do like the early flash to pull back Yuji, because without that, that was an easy kill for Spyrex.
Yeah, exactly. Spyrex running over, and so Maniac does have to get out, forfeit a couple of camps, but at the same time, Lunasia's doing a good job. He has Ignite.
He has Ignite, waiting it out, and easy peasy, isn't it? Lemon squeezy. Just needs to get the tactical sweep, where you can let him burn to the Ignite. Oh, Philip will survive.
But still, Ignite for Flash is a big win coming out for Lunasia. Philip has the CS lead, but not able to actually create enough space, taking a lot of damage. I feel like Philip's been playing really disrespectfully, taking a ton of minion damage in these fights.
Also not respecting Lunasia. Lunasia continues to be this player for FlyFam that we look at, and how powerful he's been in lane phase. Really shattering any expectations an unproven player like Lunasia would have previously.
Yeah. And look at this, what a great wave position for Lunasia, right? Can choose to back when they want as long as they can maintain this freeze. It feels as though Philip has given up quite a bit. And Spyrex, on the other hand, using the health very aggressively as a resource because Syndra doesn't have kill pressure early on in the lane. And so it will be an opportunity for Spyrex to try and get this crash to go on, especially with the help of Kitong.
Maniac hangs around mid lane, expecting that it could be something fishy mid lane, even if Blaze is gotten the wave frozen pretty well. Sees Kitong's like, okay, yeah, you're here. But unfortunately, he's same level as the support. The Maniac, having tried to make these plays work out, still needs something more. He's cleared out the entirety of his bottom quadrant of the jungle. There's no longer that wave priority, the wave push coming in from Masu and Kitong that they can look to make a play onto the spot lane.
Yeah, so far, I mean, Spyrex has been having a bit of a tough time. This is a much tougher matchup for Spyrex, but still doing A-okay, and so much of the lead is already coming out in the jungle, right? Because Yuji went in for that invade, created space. With the fact that Masu and Kitong had priority in the bottom lane that Spyrex had been pushing up earlier, they now have a decent gold lead already just off of this farm.
Looking at the bot lane, this is also a better game for Instinct and Sword. Now, obviously, not dying level 3 does help out, but they are also contending against Masu and Kitong, not letting them just reign over them. You look at Instinct, he'd gotten a cheater recall off and it's come back with the serrated Dirk that he had lacked from last game.
Yeah, I mean, just having that early extra bit of damage can really alleviate a lot of the problems that they have, but he is relatively low on mana, did give up a little bit of experience in order to make this happen, and so a lot of the time that Instinct had to really bully this lane out earlier is going to be reduced, and that's part of why you actually go with the Biscuits in this lane, is so that you have the mana to continue attacking your opponents. But overall, I mean, still a decent start coming out from the side of the fam. They just need to be able to actually find an advantage, and Maniac, having been pushed around, has not been able to go for any of these ganks because Yuji, the much more experienced and much more confident jungler, able to create space. This was what was the big growth from Yuji, was finding their confidence last year.
And with Maokai, how easy it is to spot out if Maniac is nearby. Just throw a sapling over the wall, say, hey, yeah, he's looking for this. I can counter jungle him all day long, make it so that Maniac cannot have these plays, cannot facilitate. And yes, I know a lot of people love that word, but I'm going to use it here because it's for the spot lane. Though that was a nice bubble from Sword, getting a lot of damage on Kitong, unfortunately, with Yuji right around the wings. There we go, I can speak English. That wasn't really going to be anything that amounted to too much unless Maniac was able to show up too.
Yeah, did you see that Instinct cleansed and Kitong had not thrown out the polymorph? Oh, check.
I also saw that Masu had used barrier when nothing had happened beforehand too.
That's all right. It is what it is. Everybody a little bit jumpy, it feels like, as good stun.
Nice sidestep though from Lunacia not to get stunned.
Yeah. I mean, good job from both of them. I mean, there's still a lot of play up in this top lane. Lunacia did get the better and already has the ignite back up. But, I mean, the matchup gets harder before it gets easier, and I love this from Masu not committing the recall. We saw this really pay off for Lunacia in Game 1, where they got a recall off, or they pretended to recall, and Philip believed them, didn't actually recall, and ends up getting a wave underneath the turret, breaking the freeze of their opponent.
Plus, being a cannon wave, gonna lose out on that experience, that gold for Instinct, further putting him behind Masu. Now we're just getting to the slow grind of FlyQuest Challengers and how they can beat their sister team in FlyFam. Showing that they understand the macro, that they know how to play around even the minutia in the micro of every lane state.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is, again, one of the things that we were looking at with the core trio. Ooh. The core trio of Philip, Yuji, Spyrax from last year, right? They were always these three exciting young players. And again, Yuji was our only player that was in the most available prospect list in both spring and summer. And now, we're playing the mid lane, but it's
double
stuffed.
scatter.
Yeah.
That was a nice double scatter. All right, so go back to the point. Let's continue to talk about like the remaining members from last year for FlyQuest Challengers.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they are continuing to play together, and this is, you know, we were asking Spyrax. I mean, that's where our fun Nunu and Willip graphic came from, was the fact that we were expecting Spyrax to be the very vocal one, but just kind of watching the way that Yuji's playing with so much confidence and just being aggressive kind of makes me feel like Yuji has found his voice, which would be another massive growth from this player. When he came in, we were all just like, I don't really know what's up with this guy, but he found his confidence when he started to play as Kiana.
Well, he was the mechanical, he had the hands player, right? The guy we said, okay, we know he knows how to play the game. It's how can he work with this team, right?
Yeah.
And he eventually learned how to work with Spyrax and what he needed to do. This season, you can tell that he's working far more on his own voice with Masu, level 7. Only level 4 on Sword. Lightning Crash helps first blood for Kitong as Instinct underneath the tower. Doesn't have the calling yet, already used to clear out a previous minion wave.
Yeah, I love the instant flash coming out from Masu, going for that attack, going for that play, knowing that they get caught by the bubble. It's lights out, and this is one of the things that makes Masu so good, is how aggressive they are in all of these plays.
Also, you can tell Masu when he doesn't have to worry about quite such severe ping, the instinct he has, right? The reaction this player's got to himself, where he's like, yeah, bubble's about to connect. It could be bad, so right there, flashing over. Beautiful.
Yeah. Great stuff. And honestly, this is just them running him down afterwards. Instinct does not have the damage, does not have the cooling available to even fight back, so he just has to back away. But now Philip looking for a kill on Lunacia.
Lunacia tries to fight back with the Grand Entrance played down. Parry to try to slow down. Ignite scares off Philip.
Yeah, not going to be able to get the extra Vital proc on the other side. So, I mean, a little bit back and forth. Philip, I feel like he's actually been getting outplayed pretty effectively by Lunacia, and I wonder how much of that has been coming from overconfidence, because this is supposed to be a really good matchup for Fiora basically the entire game. And as the back does not get stopped, Lunacia is now in a position where they're going into the rest of it in an even position. And even though the extended laning phase, the extended side laning doesn't necessarily get easier, it remains kind of a skill matchup for a while. And you are one of the few players that can lock down Masu.
I was waiting for you to stop talking so I could bring up that point. But you beat me to it, Josh.
Now Maniac on the bottom side. I would love to see them just like speculate with an ultimate.
I think they are, actually.
Let's go.
Right there. Blastcone waiting. Oh, and look at Blaze. He's rotating as well. They're going to throw down Shelly.
They got spotted. Everyone's coming.
They haven't spotted. There's no flash, though, from Masu. Yuji's on his way. They're just going to allow Shelly to get some charge and extra plates for Instinct so he has some more gold to fight against Masu.
Yeah, I mean, remember last time Maniac picked up this Rift Herald in exchange for Yuji spending a ton of time blocking out Instinct and Sword on the bottom lane. This time they get the Rift Herald, they crash it effectively for free with a very similar CS differential from Game 1.
Masu has Lightning Crash up again. Bubble not connecting, but that's going to be a lot of damage. Missing the ult, and here's going to be the ult from Maokai on the other side with the Polymorph. Locking down, bouncing around poor Maniac, and even with the root on his sword underneath turrets, a double kill for Masu.
Great stuff coming through. Yuji looking to find a little bit more. Not going to be able to find their way onto Instinct, but so many small things coming out from FlyQuest challengers that are so impressive. And now Philip also trying to, find even more of a lead, but it is so wild watching these two go head-to-head because their movement has been so good every single time that they go for a fight. But the thing I want to point out here, Alex, is
Josh.
The big thing is the way that Keetong and Yuji use their crowd control in order, right? Obviously, we're very impressed with the sidestep from Masu, but watch the direction that Yuji actually uses his Q, right? He walks forward, knocks them back, and also tries to hit Sword at the same time on the other side of the fight. You don't just send it back towards your own team, you do more than that, and that's the thing we love to see from growing players.
Well, and this is also what we've seen from Yuji in the past. He's got the hands. This guy, we already know he is mechanically gifted at the game. It's just the fact that he's growing from just being that to also being this decisive shot caller the team has needed since having Keetong as their sub, with Winsome playing the LCS to sub in for Ayla to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, very excited for Yuji, and I can't wait to see what happens as they continue to grow. Because when I did a pro review with Yuji last year, very, very quiet guy, right? Didn't necessarily have a whole lot to say, but as they continue to get more confident in their own play, as they become more confident with their team, they can start to be more aggressive. And that was one of the things that we thought was kind of holding them back before. I think they weren't really saying a whole lot. I would love a chance to actually just sit in and listen to their comms at some point.
Same here, just to see what has changed from year to year, especially during the off-season for Yuji. And looking at this game right now, it is what we expect. Oh, Lunacia. Nice use of hookshot. Getting out of dodge again.
They're doing a good job in lane.
Lunacia is definitely someone that, has... We've said it before, beaten the expectations. We know how well they're doing, and even going up against what is a counter matchup here in Fiora has done a great job. The problem, though, for FlyFam is how they've been controlled at this point in the game. How they haven't, characteristically, we've seen through the season, right, Josh?
Yeah.
That they have struggled, especially past 14 minutes, on wrestling away at any control, finding these proactive plays before it's way too late.
Yeah, I mean, Masu and Keetong are just winning this lane outright at this point. The jungle matchup, while we can praise Maniac for getting some neutral objectives, has been going consistently in the favor of Yuji. More kill participation, much more farm, just has more gold, and God, all these saplings just chilling in your jungle make it so difficult for Maniac to walk around. They always know where he is.
Maokai's very annoying, isn't he? Very, very annoying to deal with.
Did you hear Mark's outburst yesterday or earlier this weekend?
What was that one?
Oh, somebody died to a sapling, and he just goes out. I could hear him 3 rooms away. I hate Maokai!
See, he's got the opposite reaction of me, because I like to play AP Maokai, so I go, I love Maokai.
Alright, here we go, Philip.
Okay,
you survived the dive.
I like this, but look at Keetong and Yuji. They're both here. They've got the wild growth onto Philip, and he is confident. Even with the ultimatum laid out, they have so much damage they can provide back with a shock blast on the other side. Spyrex out of nowhere, the RKO, even with Instinct nearby, everybody is wasted away for FlyFam.
Look, I love the fact, I want to praise Fly again for going for these proactive plays, but it's a great read from the challengers to make sure that nothing comes of it. They already gave the turret down in the bottom lane to Masu. They're going to pick up the Rift Herald, and if anybody wants to stick around to take the top lane turret, they probably could have. But the challengers, they're just reading everything that it is that FlyFam wants to do and just being one step ahead.
Read them like an open book. It was all too easy, all too calculated out of FlyQuest Challengers. It's a short story with a sad ending for FlyFam, as we get to take a look at this replay.
Yeah. Philip does a good job dodging away from the early stun, and with everybody just coming through, right, you can just like jump right into the rest of the team. You know that the damage isn't there just quite yet. They've used too many of their abilities. And Spyrex, I love the fact that they're able to stay forward, and then only when the tidal wave is close to hitting them, which could have been their death, do they actually have to flash away. Great usage of all the limits, and I fear this might be the end of the second game. FlyFam still, again, we're waiting for next week when they've had more time to practice with Maniac for them to really get a good judge of how good they're going to be.
For now, in this civil war, it is a one-sided affair. What was once a revolution turned into a rebellion. Not really going to work out for poor FlyFam. I mean, I'd like to still see those glimmers. That's the whole idea of having an affiliated professional team. It's not about how they're going to perform now, but how you want to see them grow in the future and what expectations can be set up for them. This is why we've, I think, been praising Lunacia so much too, for how he's been playing for a player that is very new to competitive.
Yeah. It almost makes me wonder if I would like to see them like change their game plan, because Instinct and Sword was one of the provisional bottom lanes that we said, you know, we should expect these guys to do a little bit better. They have a little bit more experience. We know that Instinct has been one of these players that has played, you know, at least briefly in the LCS, but Lunacia has been the player that has been getting them advantages, right? Giving them more resources up there might allow them to take more control, and as we see right now, FlyFam is pushed entirely out of the bottom half of the map. The only person who's still there is Lunacia because they're so mobile, and they still might get caught.
Let's see. Lunacia's trying to get out of there. That's a lot of lockdown. That's a lot of damage. Lunacia is out. Spyrex could have gone fishing with one more shock blast, but instead, for the mid lane with the crash from Shelly.
And yeah, I mean, Lunacia just getting caught out a little bit. Masu taking quite a bit of damage. It's, you know, little wins here and there, but you're still losing the entire bottom half of the map. You can't walk in there whatsoever, and with all the plants that are on the map now because of the Chemtech Rift, like, the game does become a little bit more wild, but it doesn't matter if you don't have access to them.
FlyFam, granted to them, still looking for these plays on the top half of the map, trying to get Philip. But we gotta continue to talk about FlyQuest Challengers and the expectations we've had for this team going in as having an intact top side of the map from the off season from last year, and how we've expected them to play. And we talked about Yuji, how you can tell his shot calling's gotten a lot better. He's really the one dictating a lot of what the team needs to do. Masu, we're, you know, the new player doing really well, but Spyrex has kind of been an unsung hero in, I think, this series especially, where you just watch this guy control his lane phase, where he doesn't necessarily need to have Yuji. Usually we talk about that mid-jungle duo and how they play together to get advantages for either of them. They've both kind of been separated for a lot of this, getting their own advantages.
Yeah. And kind of thinking on that a little bit more, right? I was, again, talking to Coach Soul Strikes for FlyQuest Challengers, and they were saying that there's not a whole lot of working between the two teams. As, oh, here we go.
Okay, looking for Philip. Might be able to get this kill before anyone could show up. Should be able to accomplish it, but here's the cavalry. Here's the charge led by Spyrex and Yuji. The mid-jungle duo finally grouping up together. The damage they can provide as a unit is just insane. While Masu has got the flank, 3 members corralled, put into a pigpen. And look at Masu. He is not scared nor deterred with the flash, even with the scatter of the weak. It does not matter for the double kill they get with a clean ace against their sister team.
Again, same story as always. We appreciate the try. Unfortunately, not enough as FlyQuest Challengers do clean it up. So I want to go back to our previous conversation a little bit, Alex. And that these two teams, basically what I was hearing was that most of the time, these two teams are kind of having their own sets of scrims, not really working together super closely. But one of the things that we've seen teams have a lot of success with in the past, right? One of the reasons why Yon and Ayla became as successful as they did was one, that they were good, but two, they had access to Core JJ and Hansama, which allowed them to really do a lot of 2v2s and really skyrocket. We haven't been seeing a whole lot of that, but we are hearing that Blaze is really using Spyrex as a resource in order to try and get better and do a lot of 1v1s. Spyrex was also talking about how he has, his APA was talking about how he has an entire folder full of like 1v1s that he has done with Spyrex historically in order to try and understand the limits of every matchup. And I feel like that's something that I'm hoping that the Fly fam really starts to kind of take advantage of, because they do have a lot of talented players to be playing against, and they're a great resource in order to try and improve quickly.
And you can see that from how Spyrex plays the lane phase this year, how they're able to have this massive champion pool that we've always praised Spyrex to have. Well, he does look caught out here, but this is exactly as expected.
Yep.
Once Matsu shows up, you've got Yuji on the other side. You cannot get away, and it is all Challengers Day.
That's it. Another turret going to be going down. Base should be breaking open here. There's just not enough wave clear. Blaze and Instinct are not strong enough.
Well, honestly, I expect this to be where the game ends. Baron's already on the Challengers' heads. They're starting to crack these inhibitor turrets. They got bot lane, mid lane taken by Spyrex momentarily, with plenty more minions still to pour in. 10 seconds remaining to Lunacia and Maniac's respawn. Looks like they're just going to take the two objectives, mid and bot, and get out
towards top lane.
Okay. I mean, they got the outer seal to deal with, so they won't end the game off that play like I had initially thought, but they're pretty much dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Yeah, it's all a matter of like making sure that you can close this game cleanly from here on out, and they are firmly poised to actually do that. And so, we just talked about how we are hoping that the fam uses the Challenger team to be a really good resource. We also have to remember that the FlyQuest Challengers have FlyQuest LCS to look up to, the #1 team currently at the upper level. So I really hope that that's an opportunity for them to also try and use that resource in order to improve rapidly. For now, though, FlyQuest Challenger is going to be closing this one out relatively quickly as they just kind of pepper everything through. They still have some time left on their Barons. Looks to be about another 40 seconds.
Another 40 seconds, and even when it's gone, you have 2 lanes of supers to deal with. 4 minions coming in, enough time to take down the last remaining outer turret. The last remaining inhibitor. Does Matsu even pop Lightning Crash just to scare away? He goes golden. Oh, unfortunate. That's an unlucky. And it is what it is. It wouldn't change the state of the game. Fact of the matter is, FlyQuest Challengers are firmly in control, with every single lane now having supers pouring in.
And the Fly fam, I mean, the time for a glorious last stand was supposed to happen a while back. They don't have great tools in order to get like some kind of wombo combo this time around, and so I'm expecting, as FlyQuest Challengers, they get all their backs off, they get a ton of money invested once again. Should be one more push. Then we'll have an opportunity to have a chance to talk to, I wonder who we're actually interviewing today.
I don't know. I mean, we could always ask our Flex.
Yeah, stay strong, Fly fans.
Yeah.
Stay strong.
The thing is, this is why I always mention it. I'll keep mentioning it just because I think it's important when dealing with professional teams, especially those like Fly Fam, CLG Faith, Team Liquid First. It's about what they're looking for the future.
Where's your emote, Spyrex?
No B-mote. How dare you? But it's looking towards the future. Not the immediate future, because the immediate future, we know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and here we go. We know what's going to happen here. Turrets are going to fall.
I mean, here, why don't you play this one?
Oh, sure. I mean, everybody's going on. They're going to be jumping on to Philip Moss, who's going to be turning it around. They're going forward. He's got the crash coming through. Everybody's dying. They're on the fountain. Nowhere left to go. They're dying. They have the minions here.
Oh, nicely done, Josh. Very good job.
I used to pretend I could play-by-play.
Hey, you did a good job right there. Moss, though, he knows how far ahead they are this game. This game is going to be a victory for FlyQuest Challengers, a 2-0 lead. Maniac, welcome to NACL. This is a rough matchup, a rough week to start. You tried your damnedest, but it's still a 2-0 for FlyQuest Challengers.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it went about as we expected. We saw some glimmers. Lunasia in particular was looking quite strong. We love to see the growth coming out from Maniac. And again, we hope that this team, by next week, will have had enough time to scrim together, to practice together, to iron out some of the early issues that we're seeing. And we're hoping that they can turn it around, right? These provisional teams still are supposed to have like a long run. They will have plenty of opportunities to get better.
Yeah, that's the idea. That is the goal. Get more times, more scrims together now that Maniac's going to be a part of the team. But it's a 2-0. We're going to toss that break, get ready for our interview with the very victorious FlyQuest Challengers. Make sure you stick around.
Hello and welcome to week 2 of the NA Talent Update. OQs started this past week, so we had assistant coach sit down with some of the people following OQs to go over some of the top talent that you should keep your eye on. Here it is.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of the games. Can anybody help me out? What happened in the NACL qualifiers?
Coach, I know we normally like to draft talent from these top teams, but I think there's a star in the making on the number 10 seed. Yeah, I'm looking at Barrick, the 5-star top laner out of Mirage. I mean, this guy puts up results, plain and simple. He's beaten Golden Guardians Academy twice on 2 different teams in 2 straight years. I mean, that's no coincidence. And with his team against the ropes in an elimination game, he took matters into his own hands, picked up a penta on Gangplank.
Though, Paucus is alive. Arendelle jumping in, forgets that Xayah ult exists. Doesn't matter though. Holy f***, are they gonna win this? Please place a trap on Xayah. Oh my... Holy shit!
I mean, stats look great with intangibles through the roof. I mean, coach, we have to pick this guy up.
Okay, noted. What about over here?
The new player that Team Fish Taco just picked up, Dard. Nobody's ever heard of this guy. Just fresh off the ladder. Rank 1 on the ladder, by the way. Team Fish Taco, new jungler. Played really well. That Kindred game was out of this world. And yeah, like I said, nobody's ever heard of this guy. He's completely new. Definitely look into him, though. Just, you know, you don't need to look at his Leaguepedia page. Just take my word for it. You're going to want him on your team.
This Dard player I'm going to keep my eyes on as a potential future prospect. Make sure to note that when I bring this information back to Cubby.
Thanks so much to Assistant Coach and especially those OQ folks helping us out. Now, on to the big booty of the week with Mad Magic.
Welcome back, Gilland lovers, to another fine edition to the booty of the week. Our swashbuckler hoon be finding themselves marooned on an isle with their matey. The black spot be given, and at the rope's end they tuck tail and run, about to be overhauled by the jackars. 'Tis only a matter of time before they feed the fish, or so hoon wants them to believe. 'Tis no lily liver landlubber. They be an old salt of the high seed, will be a mighty brawl before they end up in Davy Jones' locker. Show these scallywags what's for. Raise the Jolly Rogers for the mighty brethren fallen. Ah, shiver me timbers! The Sea Dog just cleaved evidence of the brisket. Give them no quarters, Beardy. Blow them all down and send them to the depths. Look at the cowardly swabs now, and remember this day as the day you was caught Captain Dig Hoon. Aye, and yo ho. That's be it.
Passing up free booty is tough, but Copy did that and found real treasure as he took down 4 in our Raw Pog moment of the week.
Day. But something I do want to come back to is Breezy getting caught in the mid lane, not able to get locked down too heavily now. And the Nature's Grass come back both ways. Robbie Bob needs to get out of there, has the perfect execution, does get out. No, he uses down the back end. Now we got the 2v3
Copy's not going to finish.
happening. Shaden goes back in. Copy goes in as well on the backside. Kevy flashes out, flashes, and flashes, and flashes.
Copy.
But it's Copy who comes out on top. Breezy's chasing him down. Copy one more, and a double kill for the mid laner. Robbie Bob goes back in. True Shot Barrage across the back.
Woo! Poggers.
And that's been it for us at the NA Talent Update Week 2. Special shout out to the OQ folks and everyone that helped me put together this episode. We'll see you week 3, but until then, may your week be filled with positive gaming experiences.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Verizon post-game interview. This time, we have Yuji from FlyQuest Challengers, who just got a pretty clean 2-0 victory, if you ask me. So, Yuji, first thing we want to know is, I mean, we got word from Spyrax that comms is something that you guys have a team have been working on. I know it seems like you are talking more. Spyrax is taking that leadership role. How are things been for you? Like, are you speaking more? Are you having more of an input in how things go?
I would say I would try to like control the early game. I talk about how I want to play the game, the early game. I would say Spyrax, he would usually like talk a lot in the mid game, and he'll like control what we want to play for.
Do you have an input at all during those later stages of the game?
Oh yeah, for sure. Everyone talks.
Okay, it's just that final word ends up going to Spyrax based on all that information.
Oh yeah, most of the time.
Okay. So next week, I was looking at your schedule before we went live. You're facing Evil Geniuses and Big Natas Challengers. So you guys have definitely been looking better as time goes on. You're getting more comfortable with this calming structure. How do you feel going into next week's matches? Confident? Concerned? Is there one team over the other you're either excited or concerned about facing?
Well, personally, I don't really care about EG, but I think I want to play against Dignitas, because they obviously have Tom and Diamond, so I guess I just want to win against them.
Okay, but I like the spice, not even caring about EG, and it'll be nice to face some old teammates. We were getting word while we were like going back and forth before the interview started that you like playing basketball. Are you any good?
I wouldn't say I'm good. I would say I'm below average.
But what about how good are you relative to your team?
I would say I'm better than them.
Oh, really? Than everybody?
Yeah, I would say so.
Like, what is it? You shoot better? You have height? What is it? How tall are you actually? I don't even know.
I think I'm like 5'10", 5'11".
Oh, damn. True.
So, yeah.
That's
I would say the height matters, and I would say also I'm better at like controlling the ball, I guess. Yeah, I'm just like running around.
Nice, I love that. Athletics and good at games. What don't you have, Yuji? So the other thing I want to know before we start to close things out is, what have your goals been so far this split, and how have you been working towards achieving them?
Well, obviously I'm trying to work on many comms, and I would say it's just the early game stuff. I just wanna control how I wanna play, and I wanna make sure that my laners are playing 1v1, 2v2, and I'm just pushing their jungler out.
So you want to keep things isolated, and you want to have more of an influence on the early game, is what you're saying?
Yep.
All right, cool. I mean, last thing I want to ask you, Yuji, is that do you have any shout-outs or anything you want to say? I don't know, friends, family, teammates, something along those lines?
Shout out to my teammates. They're all working hard, and shout out to the coaching staff. They've been helping me a lot. And yeah, that would be it. Shout out to the fans who's watching.
Yes, the Fly fam, the Fly Space fam, which refers to the fans according to the FlyQuest account. Thank you so much, Yuzi. Congratulations again on the 2-0, and we're looking forward to what you're going to be cooking up next week, you and the rest of the FlyQuest Challengers team. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. And that's going to be it for this interview. We're going to throw it to a short break, and then Josh and Magical will join me once again for our last series of the day.